Yes, the Miami Dolphins won this week. Yes, they've won 3 of their last 4. And yes, they've won back-to-back games. But if you watch the game against the Commanders, you cannot come away with this game with any other thought than this man can't be employed next year. Mike McDaniel is not a football coach that will provide you with consistent winning in the National Football League. I'm Nick Roloff. This is Dolphins Today. Miami won against Washington, but to me, it was in spite of Mike McDaniel. The final 3 minutes of that game was so poorly mismanaged. It's incomprehensible, to be honest. And it's not even just the fourth down call, which we'll talk about here, but the opening drive of the game offensively featured a lot of mishaps and procedural issues that just can't continue to happen with a coach that's been here now for his 4th season. Like, with all the reasons we're going to bash Mike McDaniel on this show, I want it to be clear. I have actually no issue with the 4th and 1 call to go for it and the play decision. I know a lot of fans are furious with Mike McDaniel about going for it and say it's really dumb. I do not think it is, because to me, you have to trust your offense more than your defense because your offense is the better unit. And there's just a lot of different reasons to go into it as well. But first, we'll hear from Mike McDaniel, because asked about it after the game, he said special teams is very adept at getting the ball in between the 30 and 40 after a kickoff, referring to the Commanders, which would leave about 25 yards for a tying field goal as opposed to going 60 yards for a game-winning field goal when they're backed up. Those are the type of situations you try to do the best thing with the recourse of failure. That was an example of the defense stepping up. And I completely agree with Mike McDaniel. On this specific scenario, I have no issue with it. Because I said it during our live show, which is another reason why you got to tune in to the show. But if you go for it and score a touchdown, there's 1:40 left. You go up 7. You force Marcus Mariota to drive the length of the football field to score a touchdown and for overtime. If you kick a field goal, you have 1:40 left, and the Dolphins probably let the Commanders get it anywhere between the 30 and 35-yard line, and you got to go 30 yards for a game-tying field goal. And with the way the defense was giving up yardage very easily, they didn't give a lot of points, but they gave a ton of yards in this game. You'd have to imagine the Commanders were going to get in field goal range. I mean, they did, and they actually went for it. But I agree that forcing the Commanders' offense with no timeouts to go from their own 2-yard line to field goal range in 1:40 is much more difficult, in my opinion, than tying the game down by 3 with 1:40 at your own 30-35. So I do support going for it. And I just want to make that clear, because the other reasons why this coaching display was bad is the reason why it's clear that he needs to get fired. But let me know your thoughts. Did you support going for it? Most of our live chat did not. Most of the people on Twitter did not. I do. I'm just curious to see the Dolphins fans on this video on what you guys thought. So if you're asking yourself, how is this guy going to say they should fire McDaniel, but not be mad at the 4th and 1 call? Well, my issue with what Mike McDaniel did on Sunday against the Commanders was the 3rd and goal run on that same exact sequence. I thought running the ball on 3rd and goal from the 1-yard line from the pistol might have been the dumbest decision I have ever seen. Miami had so much success in this game running the football. I mean, Devon Achane had 120 rushing yards. The Dolphins as a team had 169 rushing yards, which was 5.5 yards per carry. Why on God's green earth are you not getting under center with your 6'2", 225-pound running back, I'm referring to Ollie Gordon, and not giving it to him twice? Instead, you do a stretch zone read to the right side from the 1 when there's not a lot of space to really get that zone stretch run, and Achane gets stuffed for a loss of a half a yard. Like, that is just a bad decision. It really is. Like, this stuff can't happen. And I'm also referring to the procedural issues on the opening drive. Miami got a field goal out of it, but they had to call a timeout because the play clock was dwindling on one play. They called a timeout. And then later on in the drive, it's 4th and 1 from the 29-yard line of Washington. Miami's going to go for it, which, again, in my opinion, is the right decision. But what happens? A delay of game. And some of that could be on Tua, but most of it is on Mike McDaniel and whoever's calling the plays for not getting the play call in early enough. The procedural issues that Miami has had week in, week out for the past 3.5, 4 years, it only can be pointed back to the main issue. The guy who's there calling the plays, making the decisions every single day. That is this guy. And if the Dolphins, like I said, want to eventually have a team that could win playoff games and a Super Bowl potentially, Mike McDaniel is not that guy. You can blame a lot of the issues this year on the roster, and I believe that is a bigger issue than Mike McDaniel. I said Chris Greer is a bigger issue than Mike, but it's also true that McDaniel can't be the coach here. More coming here, but this episode is brought to you by Prize Picks. Hard-hitting football action is even better on Prize Picks. The weather is changing, but the feeling of being right never gets old. Keep the season rolling on Prize Picks. You can get $50 instantly in lineups when you play your first $5. You could follow other Prize Picks players directly on the app and copy their lineups in one click, whether it's a friend, celebrity partner, or just someone whose picks you like. Hit the follow button and check out every lineup they create in the new feed tab on Prize Picks. It's so simple. You could either do that or just pick more or less on at least two player stats yourself. And if you get your picks right, you could cash in. I did cash in on the game this past Sunday. More than Devon Achane receiving yards? Check. More than Marcus Mariota interceptions? Check. Less than Tua pass attempts? Another check. Good win for me. Download the Prize Picks app today and use code CLNS to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. That's code CLNS to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. Prize Picks. It's good to be right. And we're going to make a video about this in the next couple days, so subscribe and stay tuned for this. But Ian Rappaport shared a little bit on the situation with McDaniel and Tua, basically saying how Stephen Ross wants Mike McDaniel to be the head coach next year, but that is very dependent on how the rest of the season progresses and what ultimately unfolds and what happens with the new GM hire and if the new GM wants to keep McDaniel. But then you also have to factor in Tua's contract. And Ian Rappaport basically said that the two's futures in Miami are tied together. And we've said that for a long time, that with Tua's contract situation, if you move off of Tua, McDaniel's gone. And that's why I also said that you can't bench Tua for the people that wanted to bench a month ago, because if you do bench Tua, that's Mike McDaniel basically admitting you can fire me now. And seriously, that's really what it is, because that is who Mike McDaniel has went to bat for, who he said is my quarterback. A large reason why Tua got the extension is because Mike signed off on it, because he believed in Tua, and they've had success together. So the two are conjoined at the hip here. When Tua's gone, McDaniel's gone. When McDaniel's gone, Tua's gone. So it's certainly tough long-term future-wise, but, I mean, listen, you guys could disagree in the comment section, but, like, it was pretty evident that Miami didn't play a good football game today. Like, you come off I would say the best game you played all year against the Bills. Like, yeah, the Falcons blowout win was awesome, and that was elite stuff, but doing it against a way high-quality opponent or a more quality opponent in Buffalo and blowing them out, that is more impressive, especially since Atlanta was missing their starting quarterback, Michael Penix. So it's like, to me, for them to come after the week they had against the Bills and play pretty poorly against the Commanders, and I would label this a poor performance. I thought they should have won this game by more than 3, and they shouldn't have had to go into overtime as well. But we did, because Mike McDaniel mismanaged the clock, mismanaged the game, and it just shows that he shouldn't be the coach of this football team going forward. Make sure you do subscribe, because we have all things Dolphins all the time. We'll be live later today on the channel talking more about this football team as we head into our bye week. So subscribe, join the family today. I mean, as we continue to go through this, like, it's just evident. Now, I'll use this time to close out the show by saying I really appreciate the rest of this coaching staff. And I know, I think this is something as well. The team has clearly not quit on Mike McDaniel and the rest of this coaching staff, which is positive, shows that he has commanded the locker room to a degree. He has the respect of the players in the locker room, and they're continuing to play hard for him. But that also could be said about the coordinators, the assistant coaches, and I appreciate what Anthony Weaver has done. Because, sure, did you have the best defensive performance today? No, you led 380 yards and 6 yards per play, basically. But you only held him to 13 points. That's pretty impressive stuff. Like, not allowing a lot of points there by that Commanders team. You held up in the red zone a couple times. You had a game-winning takeaway. Like, this coaching staff has been put in a tough spot this year because the roster they were given was horrible from Chris Greer. Yet they've continued to make things happen out of it, which I give them credit for. But 4-7, it's not great. Chance to really improve on this going forward, but man, got to give credit where the coaching staff deserves credit, but you also have to come to the realization I just don't think you could keep Mike McDaniel long term. You guys can let me know your thoughts down in the comment section. But yeah, I don't think you should be here, man. You're not going to fire him in season, but you should absolutely fire him after the year. And I don't think if you say you finish the year like 7-10 or 6-11 because you beat the Saints and Jets and then go 1-3 in the final 4 games against the Buccaneers, Patriots, Bengals, and Steelers, like I don't think that should save his job. I don't think it should. That's just me, though. All right, I'll do it. Like I said a little bit earlier, we'll be live later today on the channel. Subscribe and join us for this as we go into our Week 12 bye.